Hello guys and girls, it's Aaron Lee here. And I do another thing called Batman Arkham Origins articles, or known as features. Yeah, it's articles. The first one is the price. This is for Arkham Origins. The price of tacked on multiplayer. Any game that meets some success before getting added multiplayer with the sequel gets painted with the tacked on brush. Does that always mean a subpar experience? Though posted August 3rd, and it has 6 comments, and I'll read it to you right now. And it was written. It was by videogamer.com staff at videogamer.com on August 3rd, 2013 at 12:13 p.m. Tacked on multiplayer has become seemingly one of the most disgusting attributes a game can affiliate itself within today's gaming world. Regardless how popular its predecessor was or who's developing it, if an online component is added to the mix, a large portion of the community point their finger of doom and declare it a drain on resources that could and probably will ruin it for us all. The success of Call of Duty was something that no publisher could fail to ignore. In many ways, such a thought process makes sense too. If a studio are restricted by how many employees or how much cash they have at their disposal, have to focus on aspects that aren't part of the main game. Then, of course, this restraint on resources will weigh heavily on the final product. That's science. What then happens to this argument if a third party is brought into the equation? The same blame banner is cast, even though you're essentially getting more value for your buck, even if that value is a multiplayer mode that wears thin after one match. This goes further too. No one, for example, yells at COD for including single player, even though by this stage it's most definitely the opener rather than the main event. With all that above taken into account, mind how are these games shaping up or actually playing out when released into the wild. Batman, Arkham Origins, campaign developed by Warner Brothers Montreal. Multiplayer developed by Splash Damage. The latest AAA title to raise more than a few eyebrows because it has decided to include multiplayer has already angered many Bat fans, claiming it will take away from the stellar single player built up by Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. The simple fact is people don't think it's necessary. Given that development has gone to Splash Damage, though means all you're really getting is an extra mode that even you ignored won't take away from the campaign. Admittedly, that's taking Warner Brothers at its word, but surely the biggest worry with Origins is that a new developer won't live up to the foundations already laid by Rocksteady. It's hugely unlikely anything that could jeopardize replicating this quality would be allowed to take place. Except multiplayer here is to be a genuine attempt at expanding the franchise rather than diminishing it. BioShock 2, campaign developed by 2K Marin. Multiplayer developed by Digital Extremes. And they have a picture of BioShock right here. There's something in his left hand and a gun in the right. Falling into almost the exact same category as Batman. BioShock 2 faced the inevitable task of building on a game universally loved and doing so with a brand new developer at the helm. In hindsight opinion on the sequel is universally positive. A slow start giving way to a narrative that's arguably as good as the original, even if a little different. It makes sense then that the multiplayer was farmed out to other pastures. Digital Extremes, well known for its help with the Unreal Tournament run of games, where no strangers to online shooters, so they were an intelligent choice. 2K Marin was left to do its own thing. Why BioShock 2 needed a team deathmatch mode is a whole other debate entirely. There is still plenty to flesh out, as the campaign proved. And while the multiplayer had an excellent premise, if you can't wait for Infinite's DLC, you get a pretty good idea of Rapture Freefall. It descended into madness when you realized there was a capture the sister mode. A developer with a good sense of humor, or a studio just not thinking outside the box enough to make all the pieces fit. Although the lobbies have died down today, at the time there was certainly some interest. There was an air of tacked on to it all. Though and now, it's more or less deceased. Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, campaign developed by Naughty Dog. Multiplayer developed by Naughty Dog. And Naughty Dog also made The Last of Us. Whether or not Sony knew what it had with Uncharted is anyone's guess. But it damn sure knew how big the sequel could be. With Gears of War proving to be a one-stop shop for 360 owners. It's feasible that Sony thought it needed something similar with the PS3. Sure, Killzone was flying their flag in that regard too. But given that Guerrilla's shooter always felt like a response to Halo. The PlayStation brand wasn't going to settle for a single competitor. Created by Naughty Dog, usually the hard piece of evidence needed to prove resources were being stretched. The multiplayer component with Among Thieves felt like it had gone in the other direction. With the story-driven core complete, the developer did the best they could in a short period of time to construct a mechanic that worked. To many extents, it did, feeling like a hybrid of the main game, coupled with the likes of Max Payne. It was really floaty. This was far deeper than many of its rivals, even if it felt like an area Uncharted never needed to step. But be it because who was in charge, or the smart upgrade system, which did do a solid job in keeping you hooked. Naughty Dog almost and a free pass with 2. Like number 2. Those who weren't so impressed had one of the best adventures of all time to play, and the rest never had to take the disc out of the console. The fact its sequel carried on the trend and saw quite a big player migration across to it means Uncharted had somewhat bucked the trend. Dead Space 2. Campaign developed by Verso Games. Multiplayer developed by Verso Games. Anyone else starting to notice a pattern? Release a new IP. Find a serious amount of success, and then ensure almost immediately that multiplayer is included in the sequel. The problem where Dead Space 2 was concerned is that the concept never lived up to its potential. What should have been left for Dead in Space, with one team controlling Isaac and friends, and the Necromorphs, fell into an odd shooting gallery where nothing ever really fit together as you assumed it would. At the time, Verso sold its idea as something that couldn't be found anywhere else. This game was kind of scary. So, even going as far as to remind us all that you couldn't control a demon baby in Battlefield. Despite such bold words. It felt far too similar to other games that prided themselves on their shooting mechanics. Dead Space could compete going toe-to-toe in that sense. Its approach to survival horror is what set it apart. Meaning it wasn't unique enough to capture the imagination, cue a quick community death, and the removal of it in Dead Space 3. Publisher pressure may have been responsible for this one. Rest in pieces. Or rest in peace. Spec Ops: The Line. Campaign developed by Younger Development. Multiplayer developed by Darkside Game Studios. There's a very good chance that 2K decided Spec Ops the line needed multiplayer. The argument that having two studios on board lightens the load does carry some weight, but there's still only one pot of cash. If that doesn't get increased, sacrifices are always going to be made. Again, this is only speculation, but when your lead designer, Corey Davis, on this occasion, describes your online mode as a low-quality COD clone and a waste of money, alarm bells surely start to ring. This is what happened with last year's Spec Ops. Though complete with Davis admitting the publisher insisted multiplayer featured. In turn, nobody played it, and the servers became a ghost town within weeks. The definition of tacked on. Tomb Raider campaign developed by Crystal Dynamics. Multiplayer developed by Eidos Montreal. Did you even know Tomb Raider had multiplayer? The amount of people who have played the game to completion and responded with wait, there's more, is surely far higher than Square Enix would have liked. But this certainly seems to be the case. Feeling like it was an attempt to go in terms of options with Uncharted, online Lara was bland and made the horrible decision to take what had made the single player so good and craft traditional modes around it. While deathmatch and objective-based matches were all well and good, they do nothing to improve upon the Tomb Raider template. It was as if they had all stumbled somewhere they didn't belong. An attempt at something different, or the need to tick a box that most games now do. The latter seems likely, and nobody is talking about it. The Last of Us, the guys who made Uncharted 2. Campaign developed by Naughty Dog. Multiplayer developed by Naughty Dog. Hey, I just pull along here, guys. I'm doing good. Although it may seem unfair to call out Naughty Dog twice, there's a solid reason for it. The Last of Us multiplayer is one of the more intelligent examples of using your core gameplay to then go on and build a multiplayer that complements it. Every aspect of Naughty Dog's infected nightmare. Like the single player, focuses on how the game plays. It's a constant battle for survival that mimics what you've already been doing for 15 plus hours. There's even a meta-narrative of sorts that sees you trying to outlast your rival team throughout the zombie apocalypse. Apocalypse? Apocalypse, or something like that. I can't say that word. I'm bad at saying that word. Apocalypse or something like that. I don't know. My parents like to correct me on certain words here. It may not have garnered. I'll continue reading now. It may not have garnered as much attention as Joel and Ellie's adventure, but it's a prime example of adding to a game's bread and butter rather than taking away from it. Yes, the treasure chest at Naughty Dog's disposal was probably more lucrative than most. But in terms of success and of avoiding the dreaded raised eyebrow of disapproval, it was really rather well done. It's not science. Alter Mega. Suspicious absence of dissent reportage. Posted 0021 on 06 August 2013. And the next guy, Endless, says suspicious absence of ME3, Mass Effect 3, multiplayer, which arguably is the best tacked-on multiplayer in existence. Posted 2024 on 05 August 2013. And the next guy is Mr. Garrett Scott. Says the reason that tacked-on multiplayer exists is because developers and publishers are trying to find a way to extend the time a player spends a game. With a multiplayer mode, there is a reason to keep playing after finishing the main game. I thought that DLC could address this issue. Then the question becomes, why couldn't the already planned DLC be a part of the original game, especially same day or on disc DLC? Hell, if some DLC feels tacked on, some gamers won't even consider a game if it doesn't include some type of multiplayer mode, rather than accept losing a potential customer dollars. a publisher slash developer finds a way to accommodate the customer by putting a check in the multiplayer box. Perhaps the best way to avoid tacked on TLC or multiplayer is let a game stand on its own merits. If it is a single player game, let it be that. Posted 1814 on 05 August 2013. And the next guy is Mr. Smiley Face. Says, personally, having played all of the games that have been released, I think that the only game that has a commendable online is TLOU. I don't know what that means, but whatever. The Last of Us. Now I know what it means. Even then, it isn't that great. But it just goes to show that no matter how good the single player is, if the online is budget, last minute, or not wanted, it's going to be crap. Like Spec Ops: The Line, which is my favorite game, and perhaps one of the best of this generation. It was utter crap because it was not funded well enough and not wanted or needed. Not wanted nor needed. We can only hope that the guys doing the online for Arkham Origins do a better job. Posted 14/19 on 05 August 2013. And the next guy is Joe Strife. Says, I'll admit I haven't played all of these online, but I feel like an online experience is better when it seems like it could be part of the main story, or maybe not part of it. Just at least somehow involved. Like in The Last of Us, you choose to be one of the factions that you meet in the game. So you knew about them and what they do. So when you knew that at some point in the universe of the game that these two factions could have met and fought over supplies, and the fact that even your own reinforcements are limited to a point that it can be a 1 versus 4 at the very end of the match, and the online was pretty awesome. Most of the same gameplay mechanics were involved, and it was also really quite rewarding to see your clan grow. I also loved the join game feature of being able to choose no groups, so you wouldn't be playing against a well coordinated team, especially if you have no chance of being in one. Whereas when it comes to something like COD, I was just a bit confused. I understand two armies may fight over control of an area, but when the reinforcements are basically unlimited and people can keep spotting in and dying over and over again. I just felt like there's no conscience of your own failure. And when it comes to all versus all deathmatch, 20 of the world's greatest soldiers decided to gather into a small area to all kill one another. I just, nah. I enjoy multiplayer after finishing a game. It does add some nice length to €40 I spent buying this game. It's nice to feel like the developer at least tried to do something with it, even if it's not popular. But when a game is basically reproduced every year just for the multiplayer, just puts me off using the online functions. And I'm not just hating on Call of Duty. I like Call of Duty most of the time. I don't think much of the story, but mainly I enjoy it most when I'm not just playing it locally with just friends. But it doesn't compare to something you feel like you can care about. Posted 2053 on 04 August 2013. And the last guy, Disney Fiddles, says, I have owned 5 of the 6 released games in this article. We'll play The Last of Us soonish. And not once did I even think about playing any of the multiplayer modes. Posted 21/21 on 03 August 2013. That's it for that article. On to the next article now. Videogamer.com plays August 1st, 2013. Can you smell it? Games are ready to pick up again. Posted August 2nd. And it has 8 comments on it. And this article is by videogamer.com staff at videogamer.com on August 2nd, 2013 at 4:03 p.m. Simon Miller, Editor-in-Chief. Batman Arkham Origins. PS3. I love Batman. I mean, that too. I am in love with him. I'm well aware how weird and creepy that sounds. But if I were given the choice, I'd happily don the cowl and walk out into the night to fight crime. It's crime. It's also why I'm a huge fan of the Arkham series of games. Admittedly, some may find it a tad unfair to prefer a title simply because The Dark Knight is in it. But hey, why fight your feelings? This may be why I was genuinely impressed with Arkham Origins multiplayer. That was revealed this week, and why I think it actually improves on already excellent single-player offering. Borrowing from the likes of Spies vs. Mercs, while also making the formula its own. The 3-on-3 on 2 dynamic really works, and shows that big blockbuster games can be smart with the extras they work in. Will it blow people's minds when the finished experience arrives? Hopefully so. For now, though, I'm more excited about it than I was, which is good. David Scanhill, Deputy News Editor. Ridge Racer Driftopia PC. Welcome to Drift effing Toppa. It's pretty much the same urban dump you visited last year, but enhanced with numerous opportunities for you to waste your cash. So let's get started. Now, whenever you crash your car, which given the city designers found this for 90-degree turns. You often will do. You must repair it using the limited repair points we provided, or spend real money to help get you back on track. Don't have the points or cash to repair it? No problem. Well, just take the car away from you forever. It's a bit like theft, but video games. If that does happen, though, you can always spend a little bit of your money on buying a new one, or a lot to improve your chances of getting a good one. No need to panic, though. We'll always give you at least one vehicle to fall back on to let you continue your voyage through our dystopian free-to-play hell. And if you're struggling to win races, don't worry. It's deliberately designed that way. There are plenty of booster packs available in the store to give you an extra helping hand, all the while removing any sense of skill and fair play you may have otherwise been expecting. Oh, and one more thing. Driftopia fan. There's a special fun button hidden in here somewhere, but I'll be damned if I can find it. Steve Burns, reviews and features editor. PES 2013, Xbox 360. Last week I told you that I couldn't talk about PES 2014. This week I can, and I can tell you that it's got elements of genius, sadly, mixed with madness, like Gaza. The Gaza of football games can't see that going on the box personally, but you know what I mean. Anyway, the shooting is great. The passing is phenomenal. The graphics are good, if a bit waxy looking at times. And the new engine powers some wonderful looking animations. The problem is that it takes too long to enter and exit these animations, making for some horribly bogged down midfield play and the feeling you're fighting the control. It could just be the preview built, of course. Of course. This isn't final code. If it's fixed, then this could be classic. Let's hope it is. Read more by clicking this lovely line of text. There's an error, so it didn't work. So, I'm going back now. I'm going to read the comments now. PB Live is the first comment. And this person says, not been around much to play on consoles or PC. I did look to get a laptop for my travels, but couldn't get enough together while saving for next-gen consoles. So the last week has been handheld, mostly Animal Crossing, Monster Hunter, and Mario and Donkey Kong from the 3DS eStore, plus iOS and Android games. I need to see what Steam games my old Atom-based netbook can play, but probably not. But probably not too many. Posted 10/19 on 05 August 2013. And the next guy is BC underline Animus. Says just played and finished Singularity on the PS3. On my end, amazing game with interesting story and mechanics. It's a shame that this game wasn't published when it first released. On the PC, and I've been playing a few games of War of the Roses. Surprisingly fun multiplayer online game. Kinda like COD, but with swords and arrows. Also been playing Fairy Solitaire on the PC this week. Got it after getting a 90% off coupon on Steam. Surprisingly addictive. I think I've spent something like 15 hours on it already. Lastly, played a few games of Dota 2. I2. Not against people, mind you. Been playing the tutorial versus bots. Not surprisingly, I kind of suck at this. So when I finally get around to play against humans, I'm sure I ended up quitting after the second match. Next guy says Dave 2612, and has a Garfield picture of Garfield slapping himself on his eyes, saying OMG. And this guy says, since my wife and daughter have gone away to stay with my wife's parents, I've had plenty of gaming time. I started and finished the story aspect of Saints Row 3 and found it all rather dull and repetitive. The missions mostly involve killing 40,000 enemies at a variety of locations. It felt like the same thing over and over. There is loads to do in the game, but I also found most activities rather dull too. Love the location though, but shame I didn't take to it more. The Last of Us is still getting my attention. I played a fair bit online and rather enjoyed it. These guys are British. Rather enjoyed it. I've also started a third play through of the single player on hard. I seldom play my story-based games a second time, and a third time is almost unheard of. I played the Killzone Mercenary beta on the Vita. Oh, that rhymes. And rather impressed with what I've seen. Posted 10:51 on 04 August 2013. And the guy before posted it at 14:43 on 04 August 2013. And the next guy is Fantasy Meister. Says I should mention that I've only put 15 hours into Creator this week, as opposed to my usual 80 plus hours of gaming. Is that the rest of the time was spent playing Steam Community Market with trading cards. I started with just 3 free cards from Torchlight 2 and built it up into a nice little nest egg of a level 5, a level 4, and 2 level 1 badges. My free copy of Creator using funds raised and a 90% coupon from crafting one of the badges along the way at about 1.50 euro dollar left over, which has now been invested back into trading cards and I hope they'll sell again. I guess sometimes gaming isn't just gaming. Plenty of peripheral activities revolve around it now, as cosplayers, some addicts, ultimate team collectors, Chivo / trophy accumulators, and tournament players have known for years. Forums are a part of that too, and have been for a couple of decades. But one wonders how they too could improve and maybe embrace a couple more of these extraneous activities. Videogamer.com community trading cards. Anyone? Posted 1553 on 03 August 2013. And the next guy is Clock Punk. It says, seeing as how Dead Rising 2 is being given away in a couple of weeks, I had a hankering to replay the first Dead Rising. To mixed feeling. While it is a good game, it was a technical marvel upon its release. The sequels just blow it out of the water completely. The AI is not very evolved. The psychopaths strategically difficult. Lack of combo weapons scattered about the place. In the sports shop, for example, I could see bowling balls lined up on the wall, but it wouldn't let me grab one. So much potential, which was later realized. But Alias makes it difficult to really get into DR1. Plus my old level 46 save file completely disappeared from my HD, forcing me to start from scratch, which probably didn't help matters. But yes, anyone playing through CR2 for the first time in a couple of weeks, I will be envious. Really wish I could experience it afresh as well. Posted 1400 on 03 August 2013. And the next guy is Mr. Smiley Face. Says, all my time has been sunk into Smite and Smite only. He says, God, I like Smite. Smite. What's Smite? British word. Anyway, I really think that it is a good MLBA. Better than Dota 2, IMO. But I don't think that the physics need a bit of work. But I thank the video game lords for betas. Posted 12:41 on 03 August 2013. And the next guy is Bry Sky. Says, nothing new this week. Although yesterday I did try out the PC demo for Castlevania Lords of Shadow on Steam. I've had the game on Xbox 360 since launch, but never actually played it. At this point, I just intend to sell the 360 version and pick up the Steam 1. All it can really offer is impressions of the port, which are favorable. With everything turned on and anastrophic filtering turned up to a ridiculous high 16x multiplied, it still seemed to be a steady 60 FPS. So it doesn't seem like Murky did one of those quick and nasty PC conversions we fear. Dark Souls, GTA 4, though, as an observation, it's funny how prior to the current generation of consoles, pre-rendered cutscenes were used as a way of offering more impressive graphics than was possibly in gameplay. Yet now, while they can offer more on-screen action or complex lighting, they tend to look more fuzzy than the actual real-time gameplay, which is even worse if you play on PC in a resolution higher than 72p. Just struck me as amusing that the pre-rendered cutscenes in Castlevania look much worse than the real-time stuff. Posted 2044 on 02 August 2013. And the last guy is Fantasy Meister. Says, I discovered the joys of Crater on Steam and played nothing but this week. I feel I've only scratched the surface after my first 15 hours and already am planning out how to augment skills and upgrade implants for my party members so I can get a neat rotation thing going when they're in the thick of it. It has fat loot, rare drops, humor, side quests, exploration, linking packs of enemies, not a good thing, but ever so satisfying if you survive the said death penalties, or prema death if you're playing on hardcore mode, and the quirkiest party members in existence. Imagine controlling a party of 3 bandits from Borderlands 2, and that's pretty close to what you get here. Crater isn't perfect. A few typos here and there, and a couple of encounters that needed a bit of workarounding to get completed. But the gameplay is right up my street, and the Swedish charm hits the right spot. These guys are in Europe. They're not in America. Nope. Posted 1911 on 02 August 2013. Then I got one more article left. E3 2013. Videogamer.com's Games of the Show. As E3 2013 is committed to memory, the Videogamer.com team looks back over the week to pick the games that truly stood out. Posted June 17th. My videogamer.com staff at videogamer.com on June 17th, 2013 at 3:25 p.m. Want to have your say? Head over to www.facebook.com/videogamer.com and vote on your own game of the show right now. Simon Miller, Editor-in-Chief. Batman Arkham Origins. There was a lot to get excited about at E3. I immensely enjoyed Mario Kart 8 and Super Mario World 3D World. And I think Metal Gear Solid 5 looks as ridiculous as I hoped it would. What grabbed me the most, though, was Batman Arkham Origins. On many levels, this may sound stupid. After all, the previous games have been masterpieces, and as you can tell from the trailers, Origins isn't exactly doing that much different in my defense. Batman also, though, since it was announced, I had the nagging feeling that the change in developer may sour the experience. That's not a knock on Warner Brothers Montreal, but Rocksteady had set the bar so high that it was only healthy to be slightly hesitant just in case, as has happened in the past. The switch of creative heads turned out to be a poor decision. Thankfully, nothing could be further from the truth. Arkham Origins is so good and so faithful to what made the previous iterations what they were, that we are on the verge of entering a world where the last three Batman video games have been wonderful. It wasn't so long ago we were all trying to convince ourselves that Rise of Sin Tzu wasn't a pile of absolute garbage. With a few tweaks thrown in for good measure, the new martial artist enemy that can encounter Batman is marvelous. The Arkham trilogy may be gaming's answer to the Dark Knight run of films. I'm a happy man. Get all the info you need for the game here. It was Steve Burns, reviews and features, editor, Watch Dogs. At last year's breakout success, Ubisoft's E3 2013 Watch Dogs presentation could hardly have been more disappointing. CG footage of Aiden walking around, beating people up. Boring. Show us the game was a plea on social networking sites after Ubisoft's conference. Ubi duly did at the Sony keynote, and also with a second, more impressive demo behind closed doors. What I saw for the latter confirmed my stance that Watch Dogs has the potential to be one of the games of the year, demoing the open world's different districts and off-mission gameplay while expanding on the hacking aspect and showcasing invasion-based PvP. It was once again one of the games of the show. So far, we've been a lot of talk about the different hacking systems you could use. But it wasn't until now that we can really see how they all interlink. You can read about it all here. But in short, it's nicely integrated alongside the Bang Bang. The most exciting element of the demo, for me at least, was the invasion gameplay. Similar to Dark Souls, other players can enter your game. Now that you'd immediately be aware of that. It's not until you're hacked that other people become visible. It's citywide vehicle cast, cat and mouse after that, as players have to chase down and kill the hacker to prevent them escaping their game with the data. And an impressive addition to an already exciting game. David Scambill, Deputy News Editor, Need for Speed Rivals. Rivals certainly wasn't the most innovative game on show at E3. Titles like The Division, Watch Dogs, and Titanfall appear to be far more impressive in their originality stakes. But I had the most fun with it by some distance. As I said in my preview, it's Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit 2, in all but name. And the only title that left me genuinely excited to play more. Granted, I'm still slightly cautious about how well the score-chasing concept and apparent dependency multiplayer will translate to the final game. The 10-minute snippet show was an absolute blast to play with my E3 peers. But whether it'll hold up when stretched across numerous hours is a genuine concern. But after expecting 2013 to be one of Need for Speed's off years, Ghost's debut looks as if it could give Creation Games a run for its money. And a racer certainly worth keeping on your radar. Matt Lees, video production editor. Tom Clancy's The Division. Being up to my eyeballs with video editing, I didn't have time to watch the Ubisoft conference. Glancing at Twitter, after things had settled down, it seemed like the hype revolved around a new game called The Division. After squeezing my way through the crush of the immensely popular Ubisoft booth, my first experience with the game was a full-length developer demo, even without the conference bombast I walked away substantially impressed. Riffing on Steve Soderbergh's excellent Contagion. The Division depicts a world that swiftly fell to pieces after everyone simultaneously got the sniffles. As man with gun, it's up to you to roam New York and pick up the pieces, restoring order to the mess that remains. On paper, it sounds outstandingly boring. It's boring. But what they've crafted so far looks superb. The graphical fidelity and art direction are amazing. As is the impact you have on the world. Tiny rays of light pour through the fresh bullet holes that you've made. And your character even closes car doors if they're in the way as he's edging around them for cover. Tiny details like these mean nothing on their own, but merge to form a world that feels weighty and cohesive. Speaking as a man who thinks Apple can naff off, I'm also impressed by the tablet and phone stuff, which lets you hop into any online co-op game in the form of a floating overhead drone. In contrast to the usual spin-off nonsense, the entire of the Division's open world has been created to render in multiple versions. Cricky HD for modern systems, and Fuzzy Fuzz mode for tablets and stuff. As a drone, you can mark targets and whack down friendly buffs and airstrikes. So you're effectively playing a real-time strategy game where the squad you're following are all real players. Go back and explain this to Matt Lee's Sierra 1999 car, and he'd immediately smack himself into oblivion. For that reason alone, game of show. Editor's note. You can also check out what Steve thought of the Division here. Chris Pratt, video producer. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Goodness gracious. Did you guys see the trailer for The Witcher 3? It looks absolutely wonderful. Both Matt and myself were eyeing up the appointment with CD Projekt, but thankfully Mr. Lee was busy at the time, or I think we may have come to blows over the matter. He's got really long arms as well. I don't even know how you're supposed to fight someone with that physique. Anyway, I saw about 30 minutes of Wild Hunt gameplay, and it certainly didn't disappoint. The final part of Geralt's story is still wonderfully dark. And with the characters he meets being just as morally disgusting as you expect from a game in this series. I remained a little cautious about the transition to this huge open world of theirs. But the demo did its very best to convince me that it wouldn't feel too empty. The majority of the presentation focused on a village suffering from the incursions of a groggy forest spirit, and I was pleased to see that it was jam-packed, full of NPCs that, at least on the first glance, felt like real characters who made sense within their environment. Yet it was the small details that I was keen to keep note of. The travelers passing by on the roadside, the side quest that becomes available after you allow a particular rare monster to escape the day/night cycle and the influence it has on the enemies you meet and their abilities. The demo was hands off and was clearly being played in a way that would best off these individual moments when it was anywhere close to being a fair representation of the game itself. And it could end up being really, really special. Fancy a look at our alternative E3 awards. Just hit play on this video below. Under Ringa, and this guy was replying to Smeezy Evidence. Even for me, it says click for image. Posted 0757 on 18/2013. June 18. Well, there was a baby with a bubble booger coming out of his nose. She's saying evidence at Serena to the guy's size and says, that was bad, Serena. Even for you. MC Nasty 72 says, you guys need to put your thinking caps on. If a developer has a great title, why would we want to restrict where it can be sold? That would be like Coca-Cola selling their soda exclusively at one store and nowhere else. Why would they do that? Exclusive is business. Speak for hype. Now exclusives from Sony and MS are one thing. But some exclusive from some dirty studio in Parga at Shed. Think for a chance. Sucker ass. Whatever. Smack or something. Our nigga says, so then, E3. Another games conference has come and gone. Two of gaming's biggest rivals, Sony and Microsoft, went head to head with their new consoles. Although I can't possibly comment on who won it, who won, it does seem as though the issue of DRM had caused a bit of a division between Microsoft and the gaming community. The Xbox One show muted cheers clearly blew their expectations. On the other hand, the PS4 show went above and beyond with whoops and cheers being heard when the release price was announced. A clear winner. It's too early to tell, but Sony have definitely taken the edge. But it wasn't all about Sony and MS playing war on the console battlefield. There were plenty of games to see. Nintendo showed us that the Wii U does have some games to look forward to. And their consoles, Destiny isn't necessarily to be the poor cousin of the PS4 and Xbox One. The PS4 showed us fewer exclusives than the new Xbox, although the former console had more non-exclusive titles to show. Neither console was able to command and conquer in that regard, with people being split regarding who actually had the better games. Of course, the fanboys were out in their droves, each side seeming to mirror the sentiments of the other. From opposing sides, of course. Note, I loved reading some of their comments, no matter how ridiculous they are. I let them slide, though, rather than rain on their parade. Generally, I think this year's E3 has helped to expel some of the ghosts from previous years. In terms of hype, there's a certainty stretching out to infinity between E3 2013 and E3 2012. There's many developers and publishers actually waiting for the actual conference to make their announcements rather than the usual pre-E3 bollocks. It would seem as though the order has been restored. As for the rest of the year, it looks like there is plenty for us to watch. For us to watch dogs. Posted 2333 on 17 June. Yeah. Then BC underlined communist replied to some guy named Jamie Mann with two ends. Said, kinda afraid to play Watchdog, to be honest. I've learned that games with a lot of hype tend to disappoint, even if they're decent. It's like making out Session with Jessica Alba. I want it, you want it, but if we end up getting it, I doubt it'll be as good as we expect. It's sad, but it's true. By the way, Jessica Alba, if you're reading this, feel free to prove me wrong. Call me. That guy is dirty. Posted 1605 on 17 June 2013. on 17 June 2013. PC underlined eminence. OMFG, Matt Lees. Been watching some of the VGE3 videos on YouTube. On YouTube. Bloody good work. Bloody good work, mate. You are now my favorite VG staff. Creature. Beating out Dave. I watched 2 videos back to back, and that's saying a lot coming from me, since I'm usually not a video person. Loving how your E3 videos are filled with personality and humor, and not just the usual cookie cutter interviews with PR people, plus short clip of trailers. Posted 1602 on 17 June 2013. Coffee Jesus. JEZUS. Says, Simon, not enough folks have given appreciation for how incredible Roger Craig Smith and Troy Baker's vocal performance are on Arkham Origins. Both absolutely nail Conroy and Hamill's tones with near perfection. The other variable could be applied to the characters themselves being younger. Very impressed. I love the warm colors as well, given the Christmas setting. Such warm hues, delicate, snow and chilly architecture, worked wonderfully. Oh, and that detective rewind mode scene in the gameplay trailer was fabulous. For me, the Arkham games have nailed the tone of a more mature Batman. As someone who hated the Nolan take, it's a pleasure to see that it can be done, and done so well, all without blemishing the characters and whirled down to some gray/brown blur of blah. I am curious as to who is writing the story this time, though. As an animated series, Paul Deet did an excellent job on the first 2. Oh, and favorite Batman film, Under the Red Hood. Then the animated adaptations of The Dark Knight Returns. I reckon. Smile. So I call it D. Smile. The new Need for Speed. It's worth nothing that half of Gradient are working on the new game along with Ghost. Ghost is Call of Duty. Posted 1556 on 17 June 2013. Signed 90. And a picture of Fallout game with the blonde hair guy and a thumb up. Witcher, he says, Witcher 3, Division, The Evil Within, and Fable Anniversary stole my eyes over the few days that were E3. Posted 1553 on 17 June 2013. Alright, Jamie Man, I think Watch Dogs looks really unique. Says, I think Watch Dogs looks really unique and promising. I just hope it delivers on what it promises. Posted 1526 on 17 June 2013. And his picture is Assassin's Creed with the assassin guy. And it's moving. So. I hope you enjoyed that very long video I did once again. And I hope you enjoyed this article. And I gotta go now. So please rate, comment, like, favorite, subscribe, view, opinions and thoughts. I hope you like it and enjoy it for your viewing pleasure, guys and girls. And I am sorry that I'm copying you, Ghost Robo. Please forgive me. And I will be getting this game for sure. To the Batman Arkham Origins. I will see you all later. Goodbye.